Hey everybody, and welcome to this quick OpenAir Explainer of the New York State Low Embodied Carbon Concrete Leadership Act. This is a new bill that's about to be introduced in the New York State Legislature for the 2020 session. It's been sponsored by Assemblyman Robert Carroll, Democrat from the 44th Assembly District in Brooklyn. The focus of this bill is to reduce the embodied carbon of the concrete that the state of New York procures for public projects. Embodied carbon is a measurement of the amount of carbon emitted in the production of something, as opposed to the amount of carbon that is released in the utilization of something. In the case of concrete, most of that embodied carbon is part of the production of cement, the main ingredient, sort of the bonding agent of concrete. What this again aims to do is to reduce the amount of carbon that's in the concrete that the state of New York procures. Again, it's a procurement-based bill. There's many different ways in which the government can support new technologies. This is focused on procurement. So this is leveraging the state of New York's purchasing power, buys a lot of concrete for schools, for roads, buildings, sidewalks. What this does is it utilizes that purchasing power so that the state of New York essentially become an early adopter of low carbon concretes, with the goal of that then having a ripple effect in the economy at large over time. Okay, so how would this bill work? It would make embodied carbon a determining factor in the concrete that the state purchases for public projects. The way that this would be done, it would utilize a very established, mature methodology of environmental performance declaration or environmental product declarations. This is a way of measuring what the environmental performance and specifically the carbon content of different products are, in this case, concrete. So concrete companies that are submitting bids for public projects would submit EPDs along with their bids that would show what the carbon content, again, is of their concrete. What it also does is it adds a tax credit to help cover the cost of those EPD analyses for concrete makers, just as a way to sort of incentivize them to participate. Now, how it exactly work in terms of carbon being a factor in selection? So as long as a concrete complies with the state structural requirements, it has to be structurally sound, and as long as it does not add to the cost of procurement of concrete relative to conventional market rates for conventional concrete, the concrete that has the lowest embodied carbon as measured by EPDs is going to be selected. So here's an example. Let's say you have three different bids. One is regular concrete, bid one. Bid two is a superior low carbon concrete, and bid three is somewhere in between the two. If they all cost the same, the one with the best carbon performance, the lowest embodied concrete, is going to be selected. However, if the price of that superior concrete from a carbon perspective is actually much higher or higher than what the market rate is for conventional concrete, the next best option, so in this case, bid three, would win. What this also does is it creates a special incentive for a type of low embodied carbon concrete that actually captures carbon either from industrial point sources, from the open air, and stores it in concrete. And that's really exciting because this type of technology has the potential to actually turn concrete in the long term from a net emitter of carbon into a net sink, meaning that it could store and utilize more carbon in concrete than it actually emits. And that's hugely promising from a climate perspective. Now, this bill creates a special incentive, essentially a tie break for these types of concrete. So as long as if you have a bunch of different bids that come in, and you have let's say the top two have the same embodied carbon, if one of them happens to actually store carbon as part of its low embodied carbon, if it stores carbon in the concrete, that would win in a tie break, as long as it, again, meets structural standards. Now, what it also does is there's a slight sort of premium, I guess you could say, a price premium allowance for these types of concrete. In the first year of the program, if there's a carbon capture and utilization mix is submitted, they can be 15% more expensive or higher cost than conventional concretes. That goes down over time to 10% in year two, and then 5% premium allowance in year three, and then that just stays that way. So there's always a slight cost premium allowance for these types of carbon storage technologies. Now, there's also, as we mentioned, an additional tax credit that's meant to incentivize concrete makers so that they get their EPD analysis done. These tax credit would cover the cost of those EPD analysis up to 8 plants in any particular year by a single company. And this also ratchets down over time. It's designed to very rapidly get concrete providers to go ahead and get these EPD analysis. So it's 100% coverage in year one of the program, and then that would ratchet down to 0% by 2023. So that's a summary of what the bill does. Hopefully it was helpful. If you're interested in finding out more, or if you're interested, most importantly, in participating in efforts to pass this bill as a citizen lobbyist, go to our website, theopenaircollective.org. On the bottom, there's a form that you can fill out your information. We'll be in touch. Thank you very much.